Hello, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm Stephanie, aka Queen of Dope Soul Sports Talk, in my weekly spot here, nothing but Nick's Queen's Court, where I got my start. Today, we're talking offense, we're talking defense, we're talking coaching, we're talking play of the week, we're talking unsung hero of the week. We'll also preview the Denver game tonight, keys to the game, matchups to watch, and then give our predictions for the week. Jam packed show. We're going to try to do all of that in 90 minutes. All right. Welcome, Lady and the Chef from Two Knicks Chicks, Ajay, the villain, chief chat maestro of the Just Nick and It weekly show. How you two doing?
Queen, I'm good. I'm good. And so always a pleasure to be here with you talking about the Knicks. And today I'm here with Lady and the Chef. I don't know, the last time I was on a panel with her, always enjoy her show and always good
Yeah.
to when I missed the show, I'm part of the replay gang over there on Two Knicks Chick. Always have some wonderful inputs. Yeah, always glad to sit here and talk Knicks with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I caught the show Sunday, and when we lost to the Jazz, I remember leading the chef was like, I don't want to hear nothing, absolutely nothing about the altitude. I don't want to hear nothing about the time of the game. Figure it out, find a way. And the Knicks did not.
Yep.
Yeah,
And the Knicks did not.
yeah.
All right. I'm gonna okay, go ahead, lady in the chef.
No, I'm happy to be here as always, Steph. I appreciate you having me. And Ajay, we haven't been on the show in a long time. And those of you who are watching us now, like putting on a seatbelt or brushing your teeth, if you do either of the two, hit the like button and then enjoy the show.
That's right. That's right. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Leading the chef, be sure later on in the show to let us know when you and Diva Locks come on.
Okay.
Um, next. So, just for those who know, I mean, we're here on Nothing But Knicks, hosting the Queen's Court, but I have my own channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk. Leading the chef has her channel, Two Knicks Chicks. And Ajay is basically the producer of the Just Nick and It weekly show. He's in charge of the chat flow. You know, Geoff is out today. Shout
Yeah.
out to Geoff
Shout
and
out to Jeff.
Hey,
Tony
Jeff.
Crowe. Tony Crowe as well. We're still gonna have a great show. All right, so. Last week we were 2-1. We beat the Wizards 134 to 106. We beat Phoenix 138 to 122, and we lost to Utah 106 to 121. Jalen Brunson led us in points and assists, 28.3 points, 9 assists. Pretty good shooting splits, 52.7 from the field, 48.3 from the three-point line, 100% from the free throw line. 100% is that? I think that's right. Carl Anthony Towns led us in rebounds, 13 rebounds per game, but also 24.7 points. Shot 50% from the field. Didn't shoot well from the three-point line. I mean, just based on how he's been shooting this season, 33.3%, and then 93.8% from the free throw line. And Josh Hart, I just threw him in there for just his all-around numbers: 16.7 points, 7.7 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 64.5% from the field. I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, he's still leading the entire NBA in 2-point field goal percentage. Shooting 50%. He shot 50% from the 3-point line. I think he's like 36 or 37%, which is, above his season, his career average. If he can keep that up for us, that would be phenomenal. And only 66.7% from the field. I don't have OG here. We'll talk about OG in another segment. He's been phenomenal this season for us. As a team this past week, the Knicks shot 50.5% from the field, 43.1% from the free throw line, and 91.3% from the free throw line. The Knicks, as far as their efficiency across the board, that seems to be a staple. That doesn't look like it's going anywhere. But again, it's only what 15, 16 um, games in the Eastern Conference. We're fourth now. Cleveland 17-1. Boston, oh, all right. 14-3. Orlando without Banchero, 11-7, and the Knicks 9 9 9 and 7. All right, let's get into our offense, before I turn it over to Lady and the Chef and Ajay, you know, there's many aspects of the offense to talk about. Right here, I just have the offensive rating. This is how many points the Knicks score per 100 possessions. And I think they do this so that you can compare different teams. Like some teams, may play at a slow pace and only get 80 something possessions a game. Another team may play at a faster pace and may get 120 possessions a game. And if you're just looking at points scored, it's really hard to compare teams. But if you give every team 100 possessions and how much is each team scoring per 100 possessions, you have an opportunity to compare offenses, how efficient each team's offense is to each other, right? So on the season, the Knicks are second in offensive rating. Over the last 10 games, they've been second in offensive rating. And last week, over those 3 games, they were second in offensive rating. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about the defense, but I thought we would start with something a bit more positive and upbeat. Um, what are you seeing from the offense? What are you and what do you like? And is there anything you would change about it at this point? We'll start with you, Lady and the Chef, and then Ajay.
Yeah, I think for me, for the offense, what I'm seeing is the Knicks clearly can score at a high efficiency this season, which is good. I'm not knocking that. It seems like this team this year, I think that there's no question offensively that we have guys that can score. We have guys that can shoot, that can get you a shot, whether it's a three, a mid range. I love it. I think the only thing that I would change though is that sometimes there's a little bit too many threes, and there's a little controversy with that because Tibbs has encouraged this team to shoot more threes this season. So I think sometimes in some games for me, yeah, this team has been hot, but I think that we don't need as many threes as we're shooting. I think that, if you look at the stats also, the Knicks are also getting beat in the paint and points in the paint. And that's not even just talking defensively. I'm talking about offensively as well. Like we're not attacking the basket enough. And I think we saw that just the last game against Utah. So I want to see more of that high pick and roll with Cat, when Mitchell Robb comes back. But I don't know. I want to see guys be able to take the ball in a little bit more. If I can change, that's the one thing on offense for me.
Yeah, I don't have I would have to look at cleaning the glass to see, what percent, and I'll look it up during the course of the show. What percentage of shots the Knicks are taking at the rim? What percentage of shots they're taking in the mid range? And what percentage of shots they're taking from the 3-point line? So I'll definitely take a look at that. I agree in a sense. I thought I like the fact that we got up 100 shots against Utah. I like the fact that we got up 51 threes, only because we're shooting at our percentage is high. And so you're not taking advantage of it. You're shooting, for example, 92% from the free throw line, and you're only taking 4 shots a game. Like you're not really taking advantage of the fact that you're hitting 92% of the shots. I think what happens is, and the same thing for the 3-point shot, you're shooting, I don't know, let's just say 40% as a team, and you're only taking 12 a game or 20 a game. Like you're not really taking advantage of the fact that you're shooting it well. So you do want to get the volume up. But I do think there is a give and take. Um, for me, it's more about, are they good shots or not? Like I felt in against um, Utah, some of them were like heat checks. Like some of them, just came off the screen pulling the. I'm like, well, relax. Like don't like. I get it. On the season, you're hitting well, but tonight, you might want to just slow it down and make sure you get better looks than usual. So I agree with in that Utah game, the 3-point shooting, at least the looks for me. Some of them I didn't quite like. Ajay, your thoughts on the offense and
Oh,
what do you like and or don't like?
Queen, They're not supposed to do heat check when if you're not hot, you can't do heat check.
I know, right?
It's like, what are you doing? So like on offense, I mean, I have to say, obviously, we're this is the best offensive Knicks team I've seen in a long time. Okay, in terms of the talent they have, the how efficient those shooters are, and I don't have a problem with those guys taking as many shots. Listen, some nights, you're cold, right? But generally, if they shoot that much, they're probably gonna do better, right? Generally. So I have no problem with it. It just didn't work out that game, and I wouldn't change a thing on that end if I was Coach Thibodeau and the staff. I would tell them just keep shooting it. Whenever you have an open shot, take it. Not the heat check, not the cold heat checks, but when you do have a good shot, don't pass up on a good shot and let it go, because those guys are good shooters. What I am a little bit concerned though is, well, I mean, not a concern, okay, but it's just I feel like it's taken a while to get there. Mikal Bridges is a better 3-point shooter than he shows. I haven't looked at the stats. Okay, I watched the game, so the feel for the game. Like I see him missing a lot of 3-pointers that he normally wouldn't miss, or that like I feel like he's a better shooter than that. And again, not looking at the actual numbers, but there are a lot of open shot that he missed that you in previous seasons you don't see him miss too often. All right, so that's taking a little while to come around. His mid range though is insane. All right, I mean, but the 3-point, especially the corner three, he's an excellent 3-point shooter from the corner, but he's missed a lot of those lately. Like I said, not a concern, but it's just taking a little bit longer than I would want for him to get in that comfort zone when it's automatic. When he releases it, most likely that thing's gonna go in. Like we're not there yet. But otherwise, I have no problem with the team on offense. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I like the player movement. I like the ball movement. Um, sometimes I think we can do a better job just kind of recognizing what the team is giving us and what the team is not giving us, and we don't have to force it. And that goes for individual players like Brunson, and that goes for the team overall. They want to take away the key, no problem. We got 3-point shooters. You want to take away the 3-point shots? We can score in the lane. Like this is a pick your poison offense. There's no need to force it. Something is open. Somebody is open. Figure it out. Find it. Exploit it. And so even though the offense, excuse me, is working really well, I still think there's room for improvement
Yeah.
on the offense. And what's your thoughts on Mikel in the offense? Like, is it just a matter of he just needs to knock down the shots he's getting? Do you feel like we're maximizing what he can do in the offense? Is there any way to really maximize him when you're in a starting lineup with Cat and Brunson? Just your thoughts on I heard what you said as well, Ajay. Any more thoughts on Mikal Bridges and the offense?
Well, so the one thing he's got to, and I think he's under. So he's trying to fit in this role, right? In in this role of being the third scorer. Forget about what happened in Phoenix. That was like 2, 3 seasons ago. I don't care about what happens there. But in Brooklyn, he was the guy, right? So now he has to readjust to being that third option. You know, at least for when he's with the starting lineup. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, and anybody who played a little ball, it's kind of strange because with the starting lineup, he's the third option. But then when he's on the floor with the second unit, he has to switch back to being like probably the main option. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a little back and forth. And he's just got to get used to that. And I don't expect this to last too long. This uh I don't even want to call it lack of offense, because he is putting up some numbers, but you just expect him to do better. Especially, you ask Knicks Nation, for all that we gave up for him, you expect this guy to be like a 1C guy, with Bronson, Cat, and this guy being 1A, 1B, 1C. But that's just not the case. It's just going to take him a while to get into that. He's got to juggle it and feel for the game, depending on which lineup he's part of, and a lot of times I see those guys passing up shot too, because of who's on the floor with them. You know what I'm saying? And that's something they just have to get used to it. Right. Shout out to Jarrell. He's not here tonight, but Jarrell said, like, he's given this 20 game for Tibbs to start locking down or making decision. And my argument was, it shouldn't take 20 games, but maybe he was right. Like I've said, 10 games they should be all right, but we're past that 10 game, and we still trying to figure things out. So, it's just again, like I said, it's just a matter of time. These guys are talented. We know what these guys can do. It's just they all in a different environment, and they have to adjust to it. Yeah. And it's gonna get there.
I agree with that. Lady&TheChef, anything on Mikal Bridges and the offense?
I think with Mikal, from what I'm seeing, I'm also reading body language. He seems to be in his own head and in his own way. I watch him a lot of times defensively, and I've mentioned this before. He gets upset with himself when he allows the offensive player go by him. If he's not cutting off the driving lane, he's not getting in front of his player. A player shoots over him. Sometimes it could be decent defense. It's just better offense. He beats himself up. And I notice if you really watch his body language, he'll tap his hands on his shoulder. He'll do this with his head, and he'll run back up the floor when he misses a shot. I really pay attention to his body language, and he's too into in his mind and his head, and he needs to get out of his own way. Allow the game to come to him. Figure out what role they need you to play on this Knicks team, and do your job when you go out there and play that role. Yes, I agree. Divac said the same thing that Ajay just said, that when he was in Brooklyn, he was that guy. I get that. But again, it's about change and adjustments. You could have came from being a manager at one place, and maybe you're not at that managerial status. When you go to the next place, you may be at supervisor level before you can get there. But you got to adjust to your role on this new team. And I just think he has to get out of his own way.
That's a good point, that he might be pressing. Just a few chats, because we got to move on pretty quickly today. We got a lot to cover. Coach CR617, we might need to allow him to bring the ball up, especially when they are putting a big wing on Brunson, gives him a chance to play make. Yeah, he can't create for himself. He can't create for others. That's not something we're seeing. So that's a good point. Coach, he also said, like to see OG on the wing more than on power forwards. Okay. Everything I starred was Coach. Coach, I know you're not the only one talking. Kevin Bergen, offense isn't an issue with this team. Yeah, absolutely right.
Agreed with that.
Well, this is, so let's get to the defensive rating on the season. Where's Ajay? Hold on.
I'm here.
There you go. Do it this way. On the season, the Knicks are 21st in defensive rating out of 30 teams. The last 10 games were 23rd, and last week were 20th. So it's not a lot of movement, offensively and defensively. Let me see. Because I want to ask, what's the problem with the defense in your eyes? Lady&TheChef, we'll start with you. Is it personnel? Is it execution? Is it scheme? Is it effort? It could be, a little bit of, could be a little bit of all of it. What's your what do you think the problem is with the offense?
I think it's a little bit of everything you just said, Queen. It's definitely the lack of effort. I was saying on our last podcast the other day how one of the things that bothers me with this Knicks team, and this has been a problem with this Knicks team for a while now, is that leaving that perimeter open. But you watch guys on this Knicks team, and there'll be a player, they're shooting a three, and you got two guys in the paint, and no one even attempts to try to look like they're making an effort to run out and put a hand up and look like you're trying to distract their shot at all. And I don't see that. But I just think that it's funny to me because Tibbs is such a defensive minded coach, but that's one of those things that clearly this is one stat that doesn't show on paper that this Knicks team is a good defensive team. And then when you visually watch games, you don't see that this team is a good defensive team at all as well. But I just think it's the lack of effort, it's scheme. I don't see any adjustments defensively either in games. I've seen maybe a handful of games so far where the Knicks have played really well defensively for the entire game. But what I'm noticing is that, prime example in the Utah game, the Knicks came out with high energy, crawled back into the game in the third quarter, but the Knicks played pockets of good defense in games, not the entire game. And that's what hurts them. And I just don't know who's like the vocal leader on this Knicks team who's going to say, yo, we got to tighten up,
Right.
because our defense is just wide open. And even when you watch the Knicks and when they switch, sometimes it looks good. And then other times they get crossed up where two guys end up on one person and you got one or two guys open. And I'm like, and I'm sure from Tibbs and the assistant coaches, that must be frustrating. But there's always some kind of collapse defensively that's happening with this team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's all of it. It's good to see the scheme change when it comes to Cat in the pick and roll, that he's not always in drop coverage, that there are times where he'll come up and he's aggressive on the pick and roll, and he may trap on the pick and roll. So that's good. I do think that the effort is inconsistent at times, and I think the rotations are inconsistent
Mhm.
at times. There are times when they really do a good job, rotating to to the open guy. It, and not to put a lot on put it all on Mikal Bridges, because on any given night, it can be any person who's not having a good night. But when you're not getting a good containment at the point of attack, that point guard, and you can't contain him and he gets in the lane, you're always in rotation. Because once he gets in the lane, now somebody has to come over and stop him. So you're just always in rotation if you can't get that that containment. Um and Mikal, I'm just pointing out facts. And then the flip side of it is, then once you do get into the lane, there's not a lot of resistance when it comes to Cat, at the rim. So the Knicks really have to do their work up front. And I don't know if this has changed, but statistically, the Knicks are doing a better job, at least than last year. And I think one of the top teams in the league, somebody can check me on this, at not allowing players into the lane. It doesn't look like that from the eye test, so must be happening all over the league. The Knicks is one of the better teams from not allowing players to get into the lane. But then once they get there, it's pretty easy for them. So I agree. Some of it is schematic. Some of it may be rotations. We may have to. Well, we'll get into that, because that's another question I have. Ajay, just what's the problem with the defense in your eyes?
So I'm gonna, two Knicks chick just said it's a little bit of everything you mentioned. I agree with that. But more, I mean, there's certain things are more blatant than others. And one of the things that is more obvious is the rotation. Like it kind of scheme slash rotation, and that shows in the poor defense that we have at the 3 point line. Like maybe it's the drop coverage. I don't know. There's something we do that in the switch, and like they get lost, and there's always one guy that just always pops up when there's nobody within like yards of them. So I don't know, and that's a scheme that the coaching staff, that's something that they're gonna have to do and devise a scheme to to uh to correct that. Because you can't really, listen, you can't stop people from shooting threes, but you got to at least be a couple of feet away from them when you can recover. But we
Okay.
always found ourselves like far away. Like there's always one guy wide open in the corner somewhere. There was nobody near them. So this, the coaching side, I'm sure they're looking at videos and trying to figure this out. They have to come up with a way to mitigate that.
But what's the issue though? Is it, is it again not contained in the point of attack, so you're always in rotation, and it's really hard to move as fast as as the ball? Is it just lack of effort, like guys seeing people like not moving, on the flight of the ball, waiting for the guy to catch it, then move it? Is it just not being diligent to the game plan? Like, what, when I'm talking about perimeter defense, it's just leaving guys open. Like, what? There has to be a reason. This is one thing I will say. I do not like the fact that the Knicks over rotate to the ball. The person put the ball down for two dribbles. Two people are over there. Stop. I'm like, relax. But because now we in rotation. All they have to do is swing it. Now everybody has to it's like relax. I get it. We're not doing a good job containing the dribble, but there's no need to overreact. The guy's hasn't even pierced the lane yet. So I'm not sure if that's part of the scheme or if guys are just being over vigilant, when it comes to driving. But I just feel like we just overreact to any type of dribble penetration.
Queen, I think so. All the stuff you mentioned, they all happen, right?
Mhm.
The point of attack sometimes is weak, okay, but I think most of the time it happens on a switch, okay, because
Mm.
you got to remember, we usually when Brunson's on the court, I mean, we all know that he's not, he's a weak link on defense, right? So a lot of times they would use Brunson's guys to set a pick, and then that's it. It's pandemonium after that. Okay, because everybody gets lost, and then somebody pops up on the other side wide open, and Brunson, it could be his size or it could be, I don't know, whatever it is, but they just don't, they can't switch. When they set the pick, they can't switch because on the other side of the switch is Brunson.
Right.
That's a mismatch most of the time.
Right.
So I think most of the time, I think it happens on they set up a couple of screens, boom boom. Sometimes it depends on the team, they set like two screens, and then it's even more confusion. You get two guys pop up open on the double screen, and three guys watch, guarding just one guy without the ball. I don't know, it's just, that's the coaching staff's going to have to put this on the board and figure it out with the guys.
But you bring up another question. How good can the defense be with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns in the lineup? And now these are your two best offensive players now, and they're not really good, defensive players.
You can
Um,
say they're your two worst defenders.
yeah, but I do want to say, when it comes to Cat and Brunson, and I haven't looked at these stats. You know, Cat's rim protection is not good, but there's more to defense at the center spot than rim protection, right? There's pick and roll defense. And I've said this a few times, there's um, one-on-one post defense. There's help defense. Like there's more aspects to defense than just rim protection. And I know he's not good in rim protection. I don't think his pick and roll defense is that great. But I think his post defense and his help defense is pretty good statistically, right? There's a difference between the stats and the eye test, and the same thing for Brunson. I do think it's not just it's Brunson, it's Cat, and it's Mikal Bridges. you know. So basically, you have OG who's playing lights out, but one person can't do it, which is why we're still in the 20s, in defense, and you have Josh Hart. But I guess my question to you is, how good can we expect the defense for the starting lineup anyway to be with those two guys in it?
I the thing is that I think both of you hit the nail on the head. I think this team is being over vigilant when they are trying to, it's too overzealous. Like a player puts the ball on the floor. And I used to get on Jericho Sims about doing this. He would like flinch at any little hesitation. It could be a head hesitation, and he was jumping up off his feet. And you're like, yo, he didn't even put the ball on the floor. He's not even moving, and you're jumping. And now he has free range because he's wide open to make the pass or shot. And I agree with you, Steph. I don't think that it falls on one player necessarily. Shout out to Kareem Grant. He asked the question of like, okay, so who did we lose from the trades last season that made us not good defensively this year? Like, where do we fall off? But I think the point I'm trying to get at is that even if you try a lineup and you have both Cat and Brunson on the bench, it's just like saying, well, when Precious Achua and Mitchell Robb come back and Deuce, we're going to be better defensively. You have to correct the issue before those guys get back.
Right.
You can't say, yes, what Mitchell Robinson does, we don't have that right now. It is going to make a difference with him and Precious coming back because, hell, we was having these problems when Deuce McBride was here. But I think that, like, it takes a collective effort from the team. Like, everybody has to lock in defensively to become a better defensive team. And right now, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, kind of like what Ajay said, like, somebody has to figure this out quick and fast. This is the time, while it's still early in the season, to figure out these defensive woes. But I don't think that's, if you try a lineup, maybe it will be better, but that still means that Brunson and Cat have to step up defensively in some way, shape, or regard. You got to step it up. And the switching is what is causing us a big problem. As soon as like, and even still, like when you're watching film, okay, you mean to tell me, okay, when teams are setting a double screen or they're setting that screen for the shooter to be able to shoot, I see where times where you see Josh or Mikel, they're trying to fight through the screen and be able to guard whatever, get their man and guard them. But what I'm constantly seeing is with the switching, it's not being done. And then somehow, if you notice too, because a lot of tall centers, bigs, 4 or 5 players, they can shoot the three. Cat is at the top of the key trying to guard whoever's there. He's not under the basket. It's always Jalen, Kolick, Josh, and then if you have OG, because maybe OG's trying to guard the shortest end of the 3-point line. So the Knicks are not tall. Watching against Utah, I said, wow, we have no height on this team. And Cat, a lot of times, a lot of games, he's at the top of the key. So again, I think this collectively as a whole, this team has to figure out how to play better defense. It's just the defense is atrocious.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's what happens on rotations. You just got to try to make sure somebody is on somebody, even if it's not a favorable matchup. Salute to Fred Juan, who said it's simple: stop switching, stay with your man. If you get beat, you get beat. Give up two rather than um, wide open threes. That's definitely a scheme change. That would be a
Yeah,
scheme change.
yeah, but that doesn't necessarily work either because sometimes they set the pick, right? If you let's say Brunson, whoever Brunson is guarding is going through a pick, and of course his because he's gonna want to stay with the guy he's on, so he's gonna go under the screen, right?
Mhm.
It depends on who it is. That person stops at the top and just pops in a three, because right now at that point there's like you behind the screen. You're like 2 men away from your from the guy you guarding. The guy's almost wide open for a three because it's him, his own teammate, and then the two Knicks behind that teammate, because he goes under under the screen. So at the end of the day, that's not necessarily going to work either. So it depends. And if wherever Brunson's got is not a good 3-point shooter, then you're lucky. But otherwise, all they're gonna do, this is gonna be open all night. Like they're gonna stop mid screen and then shoot a three.
Yeah, and I hear what Fred Warner is saying, but you start giving up twos and it's looking like a layup line.
Yeah,
That's demoralizing too. But I do get I do get your point. Um, you know, um Nick Yak says that the issue with the defense is the size. Now, is that the issue or is that one of the issues? issues, where do you put size and what the Knicks are dealing with defensively?
I think that comment you just put from Kevin Bergen,
Hmm.
that is definitely got me thinking. Like, I'm wondering if is that tip scheme? Leave the three open. He's worried because if you look, most of our guys are packed in the paint. I seen the last game against Utah, Josh, and I don't know if it was, I don't know who it was standing. They were literally standing next to each other. No one went out to try and guard the three. I said, damn, I noticed this happens a lot in games. So now it's making me wonder, is that part of Tibbs' game plan? Pack the paint, maybe because we lack size and height, and just let them team shoot the three.
I mean, it would if that is the case, I'm sure there has to be some sort of stats that's bearing it out. That over the long haul, you might lose some games or whatever, but over the long haul, this is the best way. I don't know. I
Right.
don't know. But this has been Thibodeau's approach for some time now. Not even with just this team. When we had Hartenstein and Mitch and and those guys, this is the thing, going back to what you said about Kareem Grant's comment. We were like, yo, we need Mitch in this lineup because our perimeter defense is poor. So we need the rim protection. We go out, we get OG, we go out, we get Mikal Bridges. Josh Hart is in the lineup now, and it's still the same. Well, I don't know if it's the same. It's just statistically it's better. Statistically it's better. But it's just not consistent. It's just not consistent enough. So to me, it looks the same. Like guys getting in the lane, and now there's no um rim protection. Um,
But I mean, the thing is, if and I'm talking about that quote unquote Tibbs scheme is to guard the um protect the rim and allow 3 point shooter. If you have a size issue, like shouldn't it be the other way around? Like be tight on perimeter. Don't let guys get in the paint. Because if you have a size problem, you let guys get in the paint, they will kill you all night. That's where you cannot guard. If you have size deficiency is under the basket. So it would be best to do the opposite is guard the perimeter, guard the point of attack, and make sure you keep everything out there on lock. That's the way
but
I
we're
see
not doing that though.
it.
I mean, it's not like we coming down and going right into the paint. Like guys are on their guys as well. And they're just not. We just not getting. At least for me, I test the stats again say something different. I don't really see a lot of containment around the perimeter. But again, once you get into rotation, whether that's off a pick and roll, whether that's off not being able to contain, the point guard, whether you're getting picked off, whatever it is, you're at a disadvantage. As it is. Um, you know, I do think there are some teams where their size um, gives us a problem. But the Knicks are not the only team with a 6'8", power forward. But I do think there are times when size does give us a problem. But you also have to keep in mind that you can also take advantage of that on the other end as well. Um, we had 29 fast break points, I believe it was against Utah. Josh Hart had 8 of them. OG had 7. And that could be, I would have to look at the game again to see, but that could be that when they get the rebound, whoever's guarding them just can't keep up with them. So they may be giving up something on the defensive end, but gaining something back on, the offensive um and as well. Do you think there needs to be for our defense to improve? Do you think it's just a matter of time with this starting lineup? Or do you think we're gonna have to change the starting lineup? Or do you think we might have to change the roster? Make some changes just overall on the roster. I know it's early, but what's your early impressions? More time, change the lineup, maybe, turn the roster, not turn it over a little bit, but upgrade the roster defensively. What's your thoughts?
Go ahead, lady.
I think they do need a little bit more time before we talk about roster changes. You got to play it out with this team and allow them time to figure it out. Last year, it took the Knicks time to figure it out. Someone brought this up too in the chat. They said, there go Tibbs again, figuring out schemes early in the year, trying to work with different combinations. And it's true because Tibbs is known to do that. And it's funny because I watch Tibbs sometimes with his arms crossed and he looks over there at the bench. And I don't know why he's looking at the bench because you know you're not going to put any of those guys in. But I say give it a little bit more time, not much time, because we want to figure out this stuff early. And then if it's still not working out, then I think that, you know, I don't think changing up the starting lineup to maybe add guys in the bench is going to make a difference because you still got to resort to the guys who's in the starting lineup. I think that maybe you need to, with the lack of size, you maybe need to bring in someone in, to kind of help us out defensively. And at the same time, continue to keep building off of what's our woes and our issues now defensively. But I do think that they need a little bit more time, not much more. And at the same time, I am putting some of this on the coaching staff. You got to figure it out. I mean, like, what are we doing here? You can't say, well, what I'm doing is I want the guys to pack the paint and worry about the paint, and then you leaving the perimeter open. That can't be the answer, and that's not sustainable for the entire season. So I say give it a little bit more time. If that doesn't work out, then yeah, maybe you need to look into bringing somebody else or bring in some people who want to play some defense. How about that? Bring in guys who wants to play defense, who's going to put in more effort and put in more hustle and grit defensively. This is New York, for God's sakes. Like, come out grittier, come out more aggressive, and guys who are going to play consistent defense, not a quarter or two of defense.
Yeah, it definitely takes a commitment on, on the defensive end, and we're definitely not there yet. Ajay, did you want to add to that?
Eh, yeah. So, is it time or personnel change, or it definitely is too early to be talking about changing the roster? Like, you know, I feel like we have the right pieces. Um, and it's not just a matter of time. I think you got to put some responsibility and some pressure on the coaching staff. They got to do their job. They got to figure this thing out. You have the guys, and we all know Bronson. He's not a top 5 defender in the league. We know that. We know Cat is not a great rim protector. He's not terrible at it. And you guys mentioned effort, but I do see him putting effort. He's just not used to it. So he's committing all these foolish fouls because he's just not used to being the defensive anchor. So in that aspect, it takes some time, but the coaching staff has to work with those guys and make them understand what they're seeing. Because these guys, you got like 20 coaches on the bench, getting paid. These guys are watching the game, taking notes and coming up. These guys, man, they got to come up and deliver on something. They got to come up with ways to use the talent that we have, the pool of talent, the players that we have, to get the best out of them. Right now, I feel like they're not. They're not doing that. I mean, these guys, they go out there. These guys that play, a lot of it is on muscle memory. But sometimes you got to guide those guys. That's why those guys get paid to be on the bench. All these coaches, everybody's got something they're doing. They all got the iPad. They taking notes. At the end of the day, man, you got to put all that stuff in the blender and come up with with a smoothie or something.
Yeah.
Make it all work out. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got to do their job. Like, it's not, yeah, it's the players, but the coaches got to come up with schemes that make this thing work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, trying to find a scheme that worked with the players and then the players executing the scheme. Does this scheme fit? You work it for a few games. I don't know if this is it either, and going back to the drawing board, coming up with another scheme. Rodney says change the lineup once Mitch comes back. David Smith said, David Smith says, no, I like this one. Sorry, David Smith. Um, Jokic is not a good rim protector or defender at center, and no one tells the Nuggets to move the Joker to power forward. I do wonder how other teams do it. Um, everybody who's won an NBA championship hasn't had a rim protector at center, but they've had a decent defense, right? So that question has come across my mind too, David Smith. Like, how did the Nuggets do it? How did these other teams without a rim protector, um, do it?
Oh,
Nuggets won an NBA title without a rim protector. You know,
Queen,
at some point,
I want to sneak something in there, right?
Mhm.
So I understand what David Smith's saying, but you can't really compare them, right? So Jokic is not a good rim protector, right? But he gives you a little something, right? That's little something is enough that his offense offsets this so that it doesn't bother the team. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have a player like that who can give you just enough of a little bit of defense, but his offense is so off the charts that the offset is it's a net positive, like way net positive.
But I think that's what it is for Cat now. Now I don't know if this is sustainable, but at least in the first part of the season, his offense is almost on a historic, level, and it is offsetting. Um,
No,
you
he
know,
he doesn't like Jokic is a triple double all the time. Like, the rebounds,
but
the
I get what
passing,
you're saying.
not just the points. Like he's getting everybody involved. He's getting all these other things going. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big
It's at a
offset.
higher level, AJ, but let's not take anything away from Karl Anthony Towns. What he's
Not
doing
not at all.
offensively,
Not at
and
all.
in terms of the rebounding as well, double digits, and in terms of the assists, you know, Joker's been doing it longer. Joker's definitely doing it better. I'm not in no way am I saying that, but it ain't a huge drop right now between Joker and Cat. Now,
But
the
it's
Joker
enough.
lives at this level. It remains to be seen whether Cat can live at this level. But at least over he's kind of, you know, um, kind of providing this the he's offsetting his defense, but it's a team thing.
Yeah. No, definitely.
It's
Because yeah,
it's a team.
especially Jokic his assist numbers sometimes are crazy because he has better shooters around him, or guys who are, so yeah, it definitely. But it's the net positive, or what comes off the net number. That's what matters. Listen, like you said, Cat will probably get there, and that's what they got him for. But he'll probably get there. But right now he's not there, and it's not showing.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much better Cat is gonna. If we're just talking, remember, there's many different parts to the defense. If we're just talking about rim protection, I think it's a wrap. Like that's just not him. And I think expecting him to give you that, it's just not going to happen.
You know what,
You,
Queen? I disagree. Listen, he's not a rim protector, but because of his height, he doesn't have to block shots. He could just intimidate people.
but that's what I'm
He,
saying. That's not this is his 10th year. It's just not him.
I think it can happen, man.
Okay. I mean, listen, from your lips to God ears. I hope it does happen. But my point is you should be able to build a defense with Cat at center. With what you're doing around him. You should be able to do it. And if the players you have around him can't do it, then maybe you need other players. Because Brunson and Cat is here to like those two. When I look at Jamal Murray and the joke, I'm like, who did they have around those guys that they weren't a hell of a defensive team either. I think they were like what 13, 14, 12 during that championship year. But you put something around those two guys and it worked. I'm just asking the question, what can we put around those two guys to make it work? I feel like our offense, we got one side of the ball down, and we got to get the other side of the ball better. And if the players are not on the roster, we need to go out and get those players. We're not at the second apron. I think they did that. I know they did that intentionally in case they needed to pivot so that you can make it work. I'm I'm not for messing with the offense to put somebody in there that's going to make you better defensively. Now your offense is messed up. Come playoff time, you can win in the regular season. I'm talking about come playoff time when they're able to pick on your weakness. Um, and your defense is better, but then your offense has taken a step down and is not as dynamic and is easier to guard. Leave the offense alone. Figure out what changes you need to make that defense better, but not at the expense of the offense. That's where I am right now. Now, listen, we may get to a point where we have to do that. I'm not ready to do that till probably like the trading deadline of next season. Like, I want to try everything else to see what we could do for this defense. But anyway, any thoughts before we move on to the next segment?
Yeah, we're not talking about my man Precious coming back.
Yeah, we only got a few minutes, but we'll talk about Is he back tonight?
I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't heard that. So
He's projected to come back during this road trip, but we'll see. They've been saying that for a while, that he was supposed to start come back rather a few games ago. But yeah.
I think that'll help a little, hopefully.
Yeah, a little. But that's what I was saying earlier. You gotta address the defensive issues now before you get Precious and Mitch back. And Precious and Mitch are definitely gonna make a difference. However, even when a lot of Knicks fans say, well, oh, we need to get Mitch back in, Mitch needs to be on limited minutes when he comes back. Because you're gonna need Mitch for the playoffs. So playing Mitch high minutes, not saying that that's gonna happen from the rip, but even once he gets in shape and he starts getting acclimated playing with this team, yeah, I would love to see some schemes where we have both Mitch and Cat on the floor,
Yes.
Precious and Cat on the floor. I want to see that. Hell, I even want to see some schemes where you get Huck Porty on the floor with Cat at the same time, because I know it will work, or Huck Porty and Mitch at the same time. But I think you gotta really tread lightly with Mitchell Robinson, because you're gonna need Mitch for the playoffs. Mitch is very fragile. He's like a glass you're wrapping when you're moving. You gotta wrap it with bubble wrap, tissue paper, everything you can put under the books, because any little
And it
thing
still might break.
and it still might break. Right. So you need Mitch to stay together and stay whole. And unfortunately, this Knicks team has that question mark. You got it with Mitch. You could possibly have it with OG Anunoby. But I think that it's kind of like, what you were saying, Queen and Ajay. Like, we can't put it on one player. We can't, you see Josh Hart and OG putting in the work. They're trying to do what they need to do defensively. I haven't really seen Brunson take too many offensive charges and sacrifice his body much this season. Not a big deal. But what I want to see is better effort from this team moving forward. Like Tibbs, I need him to crack down. I see emotion from Tibbs sometimes when he's watching it, when the games are being played live, and you may see him curse or shake his head like, what the hell was that? But I wish I can be in these practices and see like what's being said in the locker room, what's being said in practice. You gotta tighten up. And the way these guys are playing defense, and you said it very well. Offensively, we're not worried about that. It's the defense, and defense also helps you win games.
Of
So
course.
this team,
Particularly
they
if
got
your shot is not falling, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. What was I gonna? Wow, y'all know my condition. It just escaped me that quick. The answer is that power forward that can defend, that is taller than OG. Listen, I'm not saying, I don't think height is the number one issue.
No,
There's been, it's open shots. It's not being where you're supposed to be. It's not contesting the shots. If you told me that they was posting up Josh Hart all the time and just taking him to the rack, or Josh Hart or whoever was closing out on the play and they were shooting over the top consistently, I would say, you know what, this is a height problem. Yeah, we can get taller, don't get me wrong, but you could be short and still be in position. The Knicks are not in position to contest shots. That's not a height issue. It's not a height issue. That's it's not being where you're supposed to, be. But the Knicks have had, if you watch them, there are some possessions in which they play really well. Even if the player hits the shot, if you're where you're supposed to be and it's a contested shot, hey. And they have had sequences like that, but it's not possession after possession after possession after possession. I've seen it. It's just not consistent enough. B. Willis, Queen, we need tall, high motor players. Okay, and there was something else. David Smith, Mitch, not a savior. He's unreliable, injury prone, coming off 2 major ankle surgeries last year. Yeah, I do think we need to. And I've been guilty of this myself. When Mitch come back, we don't know what Mitch is going to be like when he comes back. And they are going to have to treat him with kid gloves, really manage his minutes, right? Because even last year he came back and got hurt again. You know what I mean? So you can even argue, is it fool's gold? I mean, it's a fair question, I should say. It's a fair question to say, should we be counting on Mitch's return at all? Or should that just be gravy? If it works out, it works out. But if it doesn't, we have another plan. Because if we're relying on Mitch, given his history, to save us, I think we're in trouble. I think we're in trouble. We got to see Mitch as gravy. If Mitch can come in and give us at least 15 minutes a game, whew, that would be great. And if he can give us more, that's even better. But you're right, and I've been doing that myself. So that's a fair fair question. All right, let's get into, just briefly, I'm the player spotlight. OG Anunoby this past week, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 52.6% from the field, 50% from the 3-point line, 87% from the 3-point line. OG looked like he playing on another team. In that Utah game, he looked like everybody else was struggling, not me. Nobody else was playing defense. He was doing it. Was like he's focused, doing what he's supposed to do, and the rest of the Knicks are here and there. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. But OG Anunoby is locked. What have you seen from him this week, and what have you seen from him overall? Ajay, we'll start with you, then we'll get to Lady and the Chef. And the chat can chime in as well.
He's earning his paycheck. he's definitely, listen, he's been our most consistent player. That's why, yeah, he had a couple of bad games, a couple of quiet games, but overall, he's been our best all-around player so far this season. Listen, Josh Hart hasn't been terrible either in terms of all-around player.
Hasn't been terrible. He's been good.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, he's been good. Queen, I have a problem with him starting at the 3, but he hasn't. There's been no letdown with him. Like he's been playing much bigger than he is. Yeah, and OG Anunoby, of course, is a better defender than Josh Hart, and it shows. And that's why I say not so bad. It's on defense. OG Anunoby, like, he went up another level from what we're used to in terms of his offense, right? Because we know he's one of the best defensive wings in the league. But like last year, we got a little glimpse of him taking over scoring, scoring the ball. And this season, he's been doing it more consistently. Okay. You just hope that when the other guys get their stuff together, especially Mikal Bridges, that OG keeps doing this. You know what I'm saying? If once Mikal Bridges gets to the point where he could play offense and defense the same way, I mean, not just like OG, but the way we know he can, it's going to be really, really nice to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this team play. Even with the defensive deficiencies that we have with at the 1 and 5 positions. But those 3 guys in the middle, if they could all get it together at the same time, I think we're going to be fine. You're muted.
I think that was the Knicks' hope when they traded for Mikal.
Yeah.
That they knew who Cat was, right? They knew he wasn't a rim protector, but they was hoping they'd be able to put a better team around him and it wouldn't hurt as much. Um, Lady and the Chef, did you?
No, yeah, I read where Tibbs said he wants OG to be more decisive. When he's decisive, he's a lot more consistent. And to be honest, I think that he's been decisive. He's been disciplined. He's been poised. He's been aggressive defensively. I mean, the way he sees the ball, sees his man, and he's able to, put one hand out and slap the ball away and, get a fast break run at the other end is very impressive. Um, I think with OG though, OG is locked in on a different level. If you really watch him, he doesn't show much emotion. I know he was like on a bunch of memes and all over X when Alan Hine was interviewing him and he grabbed the mic, just not knowing that that's what he was doing. But he's just a very unique type of player. And when I watch him on the floor, I'm like, OG's locked in on a different level. He's like, and I don't even think it has anything to do with him getting the high contract that he's gotten with the Knicks, but he's proven that he's earning the money. I said if he can give us at least 65 regular season games and then be ready for us for the playoffs, I'll be happy with that. But what he's doing offensively, defensively for this Knicks team is very impressive. And I'm loving what I'm seeing. I just need the other players to get locked in with him. It's just unselfish basketball. He's ready when the ball comes to him for the threes, even if he's off. OG did this when he first came here last year. He's ready to drive to the basket. There were times where we were chucking up shots and no one was hitting him, and OG was just like, let me take it in. He's very disciplined in his decision making and the basketball IQ. And man, I'm really proud of what I'm seeing, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from him so far.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about that. Um, Moving along quickly. Unsung player of the week, Jericho Sims, Cameron Payne, somebody else. Who's the unsung player of the week for you?
I don't know. I'm torn between the two of them because I think Cameron Payne has played quite well coming off the bench for us. And then Jericho Sims, I will say, I'll give it to Cameron Payne, but I'll put in a second run in Jericho Sims just because I've been harsh on Jericho Sims. Shout out to Jarrell. I think I'm on the same page with him. When Jarrell said last year, Jericho Sims, how did he make the league? It was funny, but it wasn't funny because I agreed with him. And rightfully so. Jericho's been here for a while. He's been in the league in a while. Him and Deuce McBride came in around the same time. And, we've seen the growth with Deuce McBride. But I think with Jericho over the last like 2 games or so, he seems to have taken a few steps forward. Yeah. And right now, Tibbs is giving, I heard you say this, Queen, on one of your shows. You said Tibbs is giving Jericho the floor. Go ahead and play. I'm giving you the opportunity to play because you about to get right back hot on that bench. And I noticed his minutes has gone down. So Tibbs is not even giving him them 17, 18 minutes like he was. He dropped it down the last few games. But I think with Jericho, what I was asking for with Mikal, he's gotten out of his head. He's letting the game come to him, and he's playing the game, and he's not just an active body running up and down the floor. I'm just going to go down this end and play defense. I'm going to go on this end. I'm going to set the screens. You got to do more than just being in the motion of the game. You got to give us more. And I think the reason why I'm so critical and harsh for him, because it's like, you've been here long enough. You got to show some steps of improvement. You got to give us a little bit more. I'm not asking him to give us a whole bunch of points, give us a ton of blocks, but you got to make some kind of impact where I can say, okay, he's of value. He's of asset to this team. So I don't know. I think with Jericho, he seems to be gaining more confidence. He seems to be, more engaged in the games now. He seems to know where I see sometimes like in the Utah game, sometimes he's in the way in the paint when guys are trying to drive. He's trying to get out the way, and I'm like, oh, he's in the way. So he's finding a confidence. He's finding his footing. So I put him at second.
Yeah. And I think over the past few games, they're trusting him more because they're passing it to him. Whereas before they look at him, they see him, they be like, nah, I'm not passing the ball. I'm not
Right.
taking that chance.
Right.
Um, one time Mikal drove, he was right underneath the basket. Mikal passed it to Brunson on the opposite 3-point line, So I think they're having a little more confidence in him. I think Huck Porty came into the locker room with them old big lighters, those see-through big lighters where you could see the lighter fluid, and he lit it right up under his ass. And Sim's been playing right ever since. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, he's definitely been trying. He's definitely been playing better, at least putting the effort. So
yeah, but for me, the player of the week would be Campaign. I love the way he pushes the ball. I love how aggressive he is offensively. I love the shots he gets. Our guys, I think it was the Utah game. He had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 2 block shots. Just pretty much everywhere. And him and Sims, when we made that run in the first quarter, we made that run in the third quarter. It was when him and Sims were in the game. Giving us the energy and for Sims making it difficult for them to to score in the paint. We have to move on to the Denver game, but I do want to say something because I've been hearing this a lot in the chat, not just in this chat, but people comparing this team to last year's team, and last year, we was doing this defensively, and this is not last year's team. And let's not act like last year's team won a championship and this year's team is so far behind. What did last year's team do? Last year's team was one game, out of the Eastern Conference Finals, and they were playing on fumes. You know what I mean? Really having to play above their heads to because of the injuries to get us there. So I feel like this team is this team. We don't need we're not offensive rebounds is not going to be a part of this team. First of all, we shoot the ball very well. How many offensive rebounds is there?
exactly.
Because of how efficient we're shooting. This is a different team. Last year's team was not a good shooting team, so we had to put up a lot of threes. We had to put up a lot of things. We had to get to the free throw line and try to generate points, get second chance points, get offensive because we couldn't shoot. We were like 20th in effective field goal percentage, if I'm not mistaken. This team is going to have their own identity. They're going to have their own path to success. Last year's blueprint is not going to be the blueprint for this team. It's just not. Does the defense need to get better? Absolutely. But this team is not going to do it the way last year's team do. I'm not sure what last year's team did, but they're not. They're a different team, and allow them to be that. All right. Tibbs, we're gonna have to get to you next week. All right. So tonight we played Denver, 8th in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating. I think they're 9-7, if I'm not mistaken. I meant to put that there. My mistake. Wednesday we play at Dallas, 5th. Is that 5th? Yeah, 5th in offensive rating, 7th in defense. So they're top 10 in both offense and defense. They're going to be without Luka though. Friday we're at Charlotte, offensive rating 22nd, defensive rating 19th. And then Sunday, we're back home at MSG against the New Orleans Pelicans, who's a hot mess, but the Knicks are a team trying to find chemistry, so you can't take anybody lightly. 27th in offensive rating, 29th in defensive rating. I believe Brandon Ingram is back, but Zion is they got a lot of a lot of players back. So that's this week's game. But tonight we're playing Denver. I anticipate our starting lineup will be the same: Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns. These were the starters their last game: Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Peyton Watson, and Nikola Jokic, who was out with for personal reasons, but he's back now.
Of course.
And Aaron Gordon is out with, I think it's a calf, a calf injury.
He'll play.
So
He'll show up for the Knicks. They
he'll
could they
show
could
up.
they could break their legs the day before. The next day they play Knicks. Oh, I'm good. I
Right,
play
right.
that one game.
Right. So these slots was actually mixed up, but we played them tonight at 9. These are my keys to the game, but I'm really interested in what you two have to say. And the chat also. What's the keys to the game? Play with urgency. I felt like the Knicks, 4-game winning streak, they didn't come in with urgency. Utah had lost 4 games straight. They came in with the urgency, like, we got to get a win. The Knicks, that's part of, you know, being
Mhm.
a professional, as Randall said over in Minnesota, showing up with the same approach game in and game out. Defensive improvement. I don't think their defense is going to change like that, but defensive improvement. Let's see some that you're trending in the right direction. And Tibbs, experiment with different defensive schemes, experiment with different defensive rotations. In the Utah game, I would have liked to had seen, Sims play a little longer. Sims and Cam, when they came in, the defense was much better. We cut into the lead. Ride them, maybe a little bit longer. He's been doing that this year with offensive rotations that's working well, kind of letting them rock out. But do the same thing with defensive rotations as well. If you get a team and they playing well, let them rock, as well. Um, so yeah, let me get back to you two. What's the keys to the game for Denver, in your opinion?
Yeah, lady.
Yeah, strong defense. Get some stops, stop the transition baskets, not allowing teams to trade baskets. That trading baskets is getting played out. And then I don't know. I just want to see, like you said, the trending, like they're trending in a better direction defensively. Show effort. Start tonight and show effort, especially because you're still on the road.
Right.
Show and prove that you can win on the road for one, and then two, just start showing that you're trying to get better each game. Get better each day. You know what I mean? And you have to start doing that with us coming close to the middle of the season. So yeah, just not trading baskets, high intensity in this at the jump ball. I want to see high intensity energy at the jump ball, not settling for threes. And yeah, let's see if we can get it done. And also try to get some guys. I know Watson, I don't want to see him go off. We always let the no name guys randomly go off on us. So whoever's guarding him, I want to see them stay on him. I know he's been playing pretty well for them. And then Jokic, get him in foul trouble if you can. If you Knicks need to try to capitalize on getting players in foul trouble as well. So those are my keys.
Okay. Ajay?
It's tough to get Jokic in foul trouble because he's not like he plays a whole lot of defense. It's-
You got to take it to him.
yeah, yeah. Besides better defense, better rotation on the defensive end, uh, like you said, Queen, take it to him. The Denver Nuggets are not a defensive, you know, so a great defensive team. So if you can get your shot to start falling, I think you have a very good chance of winning this game. So just be aggressive early, very early. It's right out the gate. Be aggressive, get warm and get going. It's not, and once you get going, once you start hitting your shots, it's you know, like I said, they're not known to be a great defensive team. So, you know, take it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. The coolest 718 said perimeter defense.
Defense, yep.
Hmm. David Smith said Towns needs to be aggressive with Jokic and get him in um, foul trouble. Um, yeah, yeah, for sure. What's the matchup to watch for you? For me, it's Carl Anthony Towns in the Joker. Obviously because I just like I just like watching those two players, but also just seeing you know, how they're going to defend each other. If I'm pretty sure they'll be on each other some. I'm not sure if it'll be all game they'll be matched up against each other. I think that's a lot to ask. Both of them are high scorers for their team, and then also to try to hold down the other player defensively. that's a big ask, but I do think they will be on each other at times, and so it's going to be interesting to see um, who gets the best of each other. How do they defend each other? Who gets into foul trouble? Um, who comes through? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What is Carl Anthony Towns going to take away from the Joker? What is the Joker going to take away from Carl Anthony Towns? Um, and to David Smith's point, I don't know if he can repeat this. I don't know if he can repeat this, David Smith. We will see. But he played great defense on Joker in the playoffs last year and eliminated the Nuggets. And in the possessions in which he guarded Joker, remember, he didn't do it 100% of the time. Joker's field goal percentage was not great to say the least. Now, can he duplicate that performance tonight? That's a different story. And the Joker remembers that. So he gonna have something for Cat too. What's the matchup to watch for you? Is it this matchup or is there um another matchup? And if you want, I can bring back this if this helps.
So of course the center matchup is going to be interesting to watch, but let's not forget Jamal Murray and Jalen Brunson have had some battles over the years, you know, and I want to watch that because he's not a great defender also, so Jalen Brunson could go off
Hmm.
the same way. Brunson's not a great defender, so Jamal Murray could go off. So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch. The thing is, I don't know if Brunson's going to be checking Murray though. That might be Bridges.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you're gonna. I mean, every game they try to find who can they hide Brunson on, right? He
Yeah,
might be guarding Peyton Watson.
yeah.
You know.
So yeah, but that would be an interesting matchup to watch if that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But Cat and Jokic, they battle over the years, man. In the West, they've had a couple of very intense game between the two of them.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's definitely gonna be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's who I was gonna say. The center positions, Cat and Jokic.
Okay.
And like I said, I think whoever's gonna be guarding Watson, you gotta watch out for him, and then Michael Porter Jr. and
Yeah.
of course Murray, but like Michael Porter Jr. as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Bridges is usually guarding the point guard. That's the point of attack. He hasn't been great with his screen navigations, getting over the screens to get in front of the guy, um, keep him out the paint. We're gonna need that because once he gets in the paint, now we in rotation. We know the drill. Um, A Train, one matchup is the coach, and as you said, will Tibbs experiment? Yeah, and I don't mean experiment on the fly, meaning that coming into this game, you've made some changes that you'll go to that you've practiced, whether it was a walkthrough or whatever that you may have to go through um, in the game. David Smith, don't think Brunson can guard Murray. No way. Yeah, yeah. Um, don't sleep on Brown and
Yeah,
Sportster. Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I just saw that. I was like, that's true, man. Because these
Yeah,
guys, you could neutralize everybody else, and these two guys beat you.
yeah. Brunson has been balling. Balling is a little strong. The coolest 718, but he's had some really good
Westbrook.
games for them. Westbrook. Hmm. Yeah. Um, let me just see. I think that's it. And any last words? Well, we know who the panelists are. Um, Tony Crow's not here tonight. He's one of the panelists on Queen's Court. So he has shows on Mondays at 1 p.m., Wednesdays to be determined. Geoff, who's also not here, has a daily sports blog, Happily Ever After. The link for all the to the shows, to the channels for all the panels is in the show description, including the link to Geoff Klafter's sports blog. And Lady and the Chef is here, so she can speak about, their shows.
Yeah, check us out. I do all Knicks, and then we talk about the New York Liberty in the summer. And actually, the WNBA is about to start Unrivaled in January. So check us out if you want to get content and updates on that. We come on every Thursday at 7 and then on Sunday mornings at 11. So come kick it with us with your coffee, your tea, your water. Let's talk next.
Your beer, depending on what you drink on Sunday morning. And Queen, don't forget
Mhm.
this Thursday. There's no show this Thursday on Dope Soul.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's Thanksgiving.
yeah,
But every Thursday, we on Dope Soul Sports Talk.
yep.
Uh, Queen, Geoff, Jarrell,
Mhm.
myself, and whoever else. Sometimes, some rare times, Lady and the Chef will pop up on there.
Yeah,
Um,
I will be on Thursday though. I will be doing a show. I don't know if Diva Locks is gonna join me, but I'll put the link in the chat if anybody's not stuffing their face with their second plate. We could do a post game, pre game to before Friday's game. So I will be on Thursday.
Look at the dedication. There is a Thanksgiving show on the Two Knicks Chicks YouTube channel. I like
serious.
that. I
That's
like that. I'm gonna be back down in Georgia, so I don't even think I'm gonna have a show this week.
awesome. So
Because yeah, that internet ain't popping down there. I'm gonna do a podcast. I want to talk about Carl Anthony Towns after 4, Carl Anthony Towns after 5. So just stay tuned for that, and then I should be able to do a recap um, tomorrow. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on X at BKSteph33, IG at DopeSoulSports.life. Particularly if you're interested in my travels, I was able to, post some of my pictures from Jamaica finally. Um, I'm, I'll be in Ghana in February, so I'll post those pictures as well. So there'll be some Nick content, but there'll also be just, you know, life stuff um, as well. Any last words? What's the prediction for tonight?
A win. I have them 3-1 for this week's game. So I'm being optimistic. We got to get back on a winning streak.
Ajay?
why, you know what my prediction's
Yeah.
always it's always a win. And like I say, I'm more often than not, I'm right.
I will say that loss, the Knicks will be urgent. I think that loss to one thing the loss to the Utah did was pump some urgency. Not that they should need it, but they'll be better defensively tonight. They will come out playing with urgency tonight. I'm not saying that's going to guarantee them a win, but as far as effort is concerned, the Knicks will be ready. Ready tonight.
I think so.
And I predict a win. I don't remember the last time we have we won recently in
And
Denver.
then yeah,
We have.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure. Right?
Okay. All right. Well, the game is about to start. It's on ESPN and MSG. I appreciate everybody watching, and hopefully, we will be able to sleep in peace,
Happy
tonight
happy,
because the
happy
Knicks won.
Thanksgiving. Happy
And happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Exactly. For those that celebrate, enjoy your holiday.
Yep.
Until next time.